You know, there's a quote I used to like from Winston Churchill. He said, "You can always count on Americans to do the right thing after they've tried everything else."
For a long time, that felt a bit clever, in a way, hopeful, that eventually the right thing would be done. But now, it feels a bit like a cruel joke.
If you're like me, in your 60s, staring down on retirement and doing the math, it sure doesn't feel like anyone's doing the right thing. Not in Washington. That eventually seems like it's not coming.
Not in the system that he's paid into for decades, and not in the way this country handles people once they're no longer useful for tax revenue or labor.
Let's talk about the numbers that finally made me stop waiting for the system to fix itself and start finding a new way to live.
As of 2024, the average 401k balance for someone 65 or older is about $232,000. That's according to Vanguard's annual retirement data.
The median, meaning what most people actually have, is just a little over $70,000. Now, compare that to what financial planners say you need to retire comfortably in the US today, $1.46 million. That's from Schwab's 2024 Modern Wealth Survey, and it's up from previous years.
So we've got a $1 million gap, a canyon really, and most people I know are staring straight into it. Now, if you think it's just you falling short, here's the truth. It's not. A 2024 survey from Bankrate showed that more than half of Americans say they're behind on retirement savings, and about 1 in 4 say they don't believe they'll ever be able to retire at all.
Let that sink in. Not later, not less, never. And while the headlines keep saying the market's up and retirement accounts are rebounding, let's talk about what that really means. Because the stock market is not the economy, it's a mirror, and it's tilted towards the wealthy.
As of 2023, the Federal Reserve reported that the top 10% of Americans own 89% of all US stocks. The bottom half, less than 1%. So when the market hits a new high, that doesn't mean you're doing better. It just means the people who were already ahead have pulled further away.
Meanwhile, back in the real world, the median rent in the US hit $2,050 a month in 2024, according to Zillow. That's $24,600 a year just for rent.
If you're retired and living on limited savings, that wipes out 1/10 of your nest egg in 1 year.
And that's if nothing goes wrong. But something always does. And for us, it was healthcare. We knew early on that healthcare was going to be our biggest issue. And we had good reason. We watched what happened to Leslie's mother.
She became bedridden, and Medicare didn't cover half of what she needed. Not the full-time care, not the specialized equipment, not the in-home help. My grandparents, both of them, ended up spending their entire Social Security checks just trying to keep her comfortable. And even then, it wasn't enough.
They had saved. They built up a nest egg, over $500,000 at one point. But the costs drained it so quickly, they had to reverse mortgage the house. Eventually, they had to sell it, and they moved in with family. That was the only way that they could keep going. These were people who worked their entire lives, played by the rules. And this is how it ended?
That wasn't going to be us. That wasn't going to be for my parents. No siree. We were determined to find another way. When we saw Fidelity's 2024 estimate that a 65-year-old couple today would need around $351,000 just for medical expenses in retirement, that sealed it.
I knew we couldn't afford to get old in America. Growing old in America is objectively the wrong decision. So we started looking for a better option. Not a fantasy, not a shortcut, just a different path. And what we found changed everything.
We live now on the island of Madeira, part of Portugal. Here, we've built a life that works for us. We use private healthcare, which is affordable, professional, and excellent.
And we also have excellent access to Portugal's universal healthcare as a backup. We have peace of mind. And no, we didn't have that in the US, no matter how hard we worked.
And I know what you might be thinking. Maybe we just got lucky, maybe we're the exception. But the truth is, 1 in 5 retirees in the US is still working part-time just to afford essentials. That's from AARP's 2024 data.
And most of them aren't doing it because they want to. They're doing it because they don't have a choice. And even though the headlines say inflation is easing, essentials like groceries, insurance, and property taxes are still rising at a rate of 6 to 9% a year. That's not me making it up. That's straight from the Bureau of Labor Statistics in 2025 CPI data. So, even if inflation is technically cooling, the things that hit me the hardest, they're still going up. And people feel that all the time at the checkout line.
Then you add in Social Security. The 2024 Trustees Report now says Social Security will be insolvent by 2033. At that point, unless Congress changes something, only 77% of promised benefits will be paid out. If you're in your 50s or early 60s right now, that matters. And if you're in your 60s like my dad, well, it's already breathing down your neck. And here's the part that really lands like a gut punch. Only 10% of Americans over 60 feel very confident in their ability to retire. That's from the Employee Benefit Research Institute's 2025 Retirement Confidence Survey.
10%. That's what this system has given us after decades of work, sacrifice, and hope. So we stopped waiting. We sold our home in Chicago because $14,000 a year in property taxes was eating us alive. We cut our spending in half. We started saving 50% of our income. We learned to manage our own investments, long-term holdings for stability, short-term options for income. We built digital businesses we could take with us. And then we left. We moved to a place where life is slower but richer, where food is simple and fresh, where healthcare doesn't destroy your finances,
where you can walk without looking over your shoulder, where we're still building, but not burning out. We aren't just living here, we are thriving. This might have started by looking at the bad, trying to find a way to avoid it, but rather than just escape, we've found a life full of good. There's so much more to be found in retirement, and many more adventures in general available to us than we had imagined.
We're still working, yes, but we're doing it on our terms. We're still investing, and we're still planning for the future.
But now we're building for something more than just survival.
We're working to break the cycle.
We want to make a future where my children and my parents' grandchildren have options and not panic.
To grow up in a family that doesn't fear aging.
To inherit something more than a broken promise. This isn't about giving up on America, it's about
refusing to let a broken system write the ending to your story.
So if you're still watching, if your heart dropped when you heard $232,000 or $1.46 million or
$351,000 in healthcare costs, I want you to know, you are not stuck. You might be late,
but it's not too late.
If this spoke to you, subscribe to our channel.
Like the video, leave a comment.
Tell me what hit the hardest for you. The healthcare, the rent, the retirement gap?
If you're ready to take action, join our next online meetup.
Grab our Moving Abroad program. It's everything we wish we had when we started.
Or book a one-on-one consultation and let us talk about your numbers and your options.
We say this every time, and we mean it more now than ever. We should have done this sooner.
And of course,
it'll be fun.